Welcome to the Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast, where each week we're joined by leaders of Guaranteed Irish member businesses to chat about how they sustain jobs, communities and provenance. Supported by FBD Insurance, Ireland's largest homegrown insurer. Support, it's what we do.
Hello and welcome to the Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast. My name is Bríd O'Connell and joining me today is Peter Clancy, CEO of Lough Ree Distillery, to discuss, a lot of things about alcohol. So there's whiskey, there's gin, there's vodka, and there's even slingshot chocolate. So Peter, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Bríd. We it always works, you know. Either drink or chocolate is the way to people's hearts, you know.
Well, based out of Longford, you're now employing 8 people. An absolute love affair for the whole distilling business. LoughReeDistillery.com is the website. Tell us all about the business.
As I describe it to people, it's a joint midlife crisis by 3 siblings, you know. That's a joke post way of doing it. Who all had secure professional careers before getting into this. It started probably about 8 years ago. At this stage, we had a premises at home. My mother was sort of wondering what to do with this premises. Somewhere came up about a craft brewery, and my brother said he was in the space. No, too small for craft brewery. You could look at a micro distillery. Okay. And that spawned a whole series of events that has led to today, right? And you know, we blame our mother for it now, which
why not?
She's in her mid-80s, so she gets a kick out of
why
that.
Not?
You know.
In terms of the distillery and the micro distillery concept, the idea came 8 years ago. But how long is it since you left? The 3 siblings left their full-time jobs and really put everything into this?
Really, I suppose we're more or less full time at this for the last 5 years. So we set up the micro distillery in 2018, and that was a kind of a fortuitous, I suppose, happening. You know, I don't know if you can see this drawing. We've a much bigger whiskey distillery, full scale whiskey distillery planned across the road from our micro distillery. This is a multi-million euro investment. We'll get started on it this year.
Brilliant.
The opportunity came up to set up the micro distillery literally across the road from this in an old butcher shop, and we kind of jumped at it because part of our whole brand is around Lanesborough and our hometown of Lanesborough. So it was a very neat fit, and you know, it allowed us to bring together, you know, a lot of the kind of brand development stuff we had done, say on Slingshot Gin and on the whiskies and that kind of stuff. It allowed us to then get product out into the market and start understanding that side of the business. Okay,
so I'm really interested to hear. I know you're obviously Guaranteed Irish member, so being Irish is important to you, but you're really committed to Lanesborough and the businesses being based there. How has that affected your messaging?
I mean, I think it's enhanced it. You know, it's a real genuine story and story of provenance, right? What we're about. And you know, I always tell this story to people that, you know, Lanesborough was a kind of sleepy backwater, I suppose, 100 years ago. Bord-na-Móna came to it in the 1940s and started commercialising the bogs. In the 1950s, ESB built the first power station in Lanesborough. So the 4th generation of that just closed at the end of 21. So by the end of the 50s, they needed kind of replacement workers. So they set up a technical school. So there was 5 teachers in the technical school day one. One was my dad, who was a metalwork teacher, and the other was my mother, who was a home economics teacher.
Fantastic.
So good old 1950s Ireland, you know, teach the men to go out and work and teach the women to stay at home and keep house. So, you know, the 6 of us in the family, so we all grew up in Lanesborough. We all went to the technical school where my dad was principal for 30-something years till he retired. And, you know, to us, you know, when you travel the world and you kind of see what's there on your doorstep, and we're there, we're bang on the Shannon at the very top of Lough Ree. You know, it's like the Mediterranean in the summer there. So we're really passionate about it.
Yeah,
you know? And I think, you know, in business, right, you've got to be passionate. You know, like for you to succeed, you need lots of things. But if you're not passionate about it, you have no hope, right?
Yeah.
So we're really passionate about Lanesborough, and in a kind of a weird way, you know, my folks came to Lanesborough because of ESB and Bord-na-Móna. That's all dwindling out now. Of course. And now we're, you know, we can be the next big thing.
You can be the next big thing.
You know, we have 8 people. We could be, you know, when we build this out, we can be, you know, 25, 30 people. There was 41 people in the power station in Lanesborough when it closed. Yeah. So in the period of a short couple of years,
you can be that replacement
we can
employer.
Be that big thing, right? And it's not just that. I suppose it's what we see increasingly now in export markets is you're putting Lanesborough on the map. So this a fella stopped me in the street last year at some stage, and he was showing me a bottle of one of our spirits on his phone, and I said, "Where did you get that?" He said, "I got it in Switzerland."
Brilliant.
And I came here. So last year we started keeping a track of this. So we had people from 17 different nationalities sought us out last year and walked in our front door. And if they get a positive experience, sure, it enhances our brand, but it's very, very good for the locality.
Local community.
Because, a lot of these are off boats or whatever during the summer. But, we don't do food. We don't, they'll go across the road and buy their food, or they'll go up to town and have a pint or buy tea or whatever. And that's good for everyone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And of course, as we all know, always say in Guaranteed Irish, for every 20 euros spent locally, it's worth 100 euros to the community. So it's really about supporting local. I love that ethos from Lough Ree Distillery. Yeah. So well done to the lads and girls in the family who are doing that. And it is 2 lads and a sister.
Yeah, myself, my brother Mike, and my sister Sheila. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I love that kind of a story. And you know what? That backstory is so important, isn't it? In terms of marketing and getting the messaging right. And people like to buy into people, don't they?
Well, I think, again, in this business, in my head, the engineer and me kind of divide stuff into boxes. In my business, there's 3 boxes. So there's 3 boxes in my business as well, but there's separate 3 boxes, right? Yeah. But in the marketplace. So there's the big brands, okay? Then there's the brands, the guys who will never have a distillery. And then you have a growing cohort of us guys in the middle, who all have a story. So we have a story that's unique to us, but there's lots of other guys with an equally valid story,
for sure,
based on their home place or whatever, right? And, I think if you're one of those guys in the middle, the brand guys may or may not get found out. Because some of them don't have a backside in their trousers, being blunt about it. The big guys will always survive. Yeah. Okay. How does the guy in the middle carve out a space for him? And some of that is, back to this kind of genuine story, not made up. There's nothing fake about it. It's there. It's absolutely genuine, and people appreciate that.
And be your authentic self. We've talked a lot about that actually at different events we've had, and it's really interesting. It's really coming through since COVID, because people want authentic stories, authentic commitment to communities, and authentic sustainable journeys, which we're going to come on to in a minute, because I know you're very commitment to sustainability. But first of all, I need to discuss your range. So anybody who's listening to this podcast, you have a range of vodkas, gins and whiskies. It's pretty extensive. Talk us through your various ranges and the series of products, which just for the listener's purpose, I'm looking at here in studio.
Yeah, you're looking at some of them, Breed. I didn't bring them all in, So I suppose the journey started with our Slingshot gin, which is in a kind of a well-recognised blue bottle. The distinguishing factor about that is it's the only spirit in the world to have peat distilled as a botanical. So another latch on to the local area. Yeah. Slingshot, the name Slingshot, the famous Queen Maeve retired to an island on Lough Ree.
Right.
And was supposedly killed by a piece of hard cheese fired from a slingshot from the high ground on the Longford shore, back whenever many thousands of years ago it was. So that's where the journey started. I suppose not long after that, we since we got into this space, we had been buying whiskey and laying it down and finishing it in our own casks and that. So that led into the Bridge series of whiskies. So these are single cask whiskies, a limited number of bottles. That bottle of Caro in front of you, 272 bottles. That's all that's in it, right? It's €100 bottle of whiskey at the premium, ultra premium, super premium range.
Of course.
Interesting thing about that, Caro, all of these are all a series. So each of these is named after a place on the lake. So we've had Saints Island, Elfite Bay, and we haven't even started on the islands. There's 52 islands on the lake.
And who are your typical buyers of the whiskey, for example?
So for that whiskey, the typical buyer are, I suppose, your whiskey connoisseur, right? We would
Irish or international?
Both.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, both. And I'll come back to that question in a second, because that. Once you kind of put the flag up and say, "Oh, we've Irish whiskey," then you start getting export inquiries.
That's right, yeah.
So we spent a number of months kind of ferreting through that, and what you realise is actually what these guys are looking for is a lower priced product that they can get repeatedly and consistently, right? Yeah. And we couldn't service that with this range because they're single cask releases.
Right,
so we, while we might give somebody 50 bottles of a release. he might come back in 3 months and say, oh, give us more of that. Sorry, we don't have it.
Yeah.
Here's the next release. And you're going through a process of trying to re-educate them all the time. So who buys that? I mean, we have a growing collection of kind of collectors, guys who follow us. Probably 50% of each of these releases is allocated before it's released. So, which is great, but what we realize is you can't build a business and you can't avail of the opportunity that's there for Irish whiskey in the export markets with that product. Which led us to creating the Bart's blended whiskey. So Bart was our dad, passed away in 2010 before we even got into this business.
Yeah.
And obviously these are single cask whiskies, so single malt, single grains. Bart's is a blended product, so it's a combination of 5 different whiskies, and the kind of brand story around it is our dad's passion. He was a metalwork teacher, so he's brilliant with his hands. So his passion in the last 20 years of his life was fixing clocks.
Oh, okay, great.
So he would go to auctions.
And I see it, yeah.
So there was an obvious parallel between a clock and a blended whiskey, because in a clock, the smallest wheel is as important as the biggest wheel. If it doesn't work, the clock doesn't work. And it's the same with a blended whiskey. So there's 5 different whiskies in this, and we've blended them together, and we've used the kind of clock methodology to tie it all together.
And the packaging and design is around the clock.
Is all around the clock. And again, there's a story. And, we're very upfront on this. We tell you exactly what's in the blend, and again, use the clock methodology and all that in the background.
Lovely.
So
really nice, yeah.
So what that has allowed us to do then is target export markets with Bart's as our primary product. And that's
and what export markets are you in, Peter, with that?
What export markets? Growing all the time. At the moment, we are in the UK, just gone into France, Italy. We're in Italy for the last year and a bit. We're in Germany, we're in Poland, we're in Belgium, we're in Estonia.
So Europe at large.
I'm missing, by the end of this year, we'll be in Austria, Sweden, Denmark, the US.
The US,
Canada.
I was waiting to see what you say the US.
Yeah.
Because Irish whiskey, US buyers, big market, and they have a preference for Irish or Scottish whiskey. How is that going?
We've literally only started.
Yeah.
We haven't actually shipped product there yet, but it's a complicated market to get into, because each state is like a country.
That's right.
So there's like 50 different countries,
and
some of them
legislation around alcohol.
and like 18 states. The alcohol sales are controlled by the government, so unless you get listed with that, you can't sell. So we found a way of starting small. I was over there a couple of weeks ago, down in Tennessee. I have an importer in Tennessee. Brilliant. And that's going to allow us to build out from there. But, I spent several days on the ground down there, and I got a fabulous reception. And actually for the Slingshot gin as well.
Great.
Which was great, So
hard slog, Peter, isn't it?
Listen, this whole business is a hard slog, Breed.
Yeah.
Anyone who thinks it's
labor of love
is easy, and you read announcements of fellas getting into it and all the rest, and you think, God,
that poor sucker.
Yeah, and everyone has to figure it out. What I will say is it's hugely collegiate, so we're very active in the Whiskey Association, and there's a huge degree of collegiality among the members there, and Drinks Ireland and that. So, I suppose everyone is conscious of we're not all reinventing the wheel.
That's right.
That if there's learnings you can get from somebody else,
why wouldn't
by
you?
and large, people will share them.
I find that as well. In business, people are very generous with their information and experience and knowledge. Talk to us about the vodka.
So the vodka is one of our Founders Series range. So the Founders range was something we came up with that allowed us to kind of do a little bit of experimentation, put product in bottle, and see does it sell, or see does it target specific points in the market. So the 6 different products in that: 3 gins, 3 whiskey, or 3 gins, 3 vodkas. The 99 vodka is a vanilla vodka. It's probably the only naturally infused vanilla vodka out there. But the target market for that is, the cocktail bars making porn star martinis.
Okay.
We have a pink gin that's released this year as well. Similar, targeting a particular demographic in the market. Zesty Irish vodka, won Best Irish Vodka last year at the Whiskey Awards. Actual Irish Gin, which is the only 100% Irish gin, so it uses Irish juniper, which is very rare. And then we have a couple of specials, once-off kind of products in that, a double peated vodka and a cask aged gin. So that's that range. I expect that will get added to as we look at other products, but in a kind of an experimentation way. But now we have a vehicle or a mechanism to be able to take those products and put them in a bottle that's properly labelled for retail.
Very clever. You've really evolved since we last spoke. You've really brought it through the whole mix. I'm really impressed. Well done.
I mean, I suppose business evolves. Like you can't, as small guys in the space, you've got to try and find
on your toes for sure.
Find your niche.
So that brings me on lovely to my next question. How do you differentiate in Lough Ree Distillery your products to your closest competitors out there?
There's probably 3 bits to that. The first is quality, right? And I'm not saying anyone else's is lesser quality or anything, because I can't, I can't influence that, right? But what we can influence is the quality of our products, right? And pretty much everything we release wins awards. With 50 north of 50 awards at this stage.
Brilliant! Congratulations.
And that where that kind of that gives you a great excuse to talk about them and that sort of stuff locally or domestically.
But also gives you confidence in your own what you're doing.
Well, absolutely,
right.
That's the kind of validation. Of, our vision is to bring to the world from our hometown of Lanesborough the finest, most highly regarded Irish spirits. So that validates
like that elevator pitch. That's perfect.
And it's in export markets that guys sit up and take notice of that. Oh, that won a gold medal at San Francisco.
That's right.
Those guys then say, okay, now I know the quality of this product is good, right? I suppose the quality is the first one. Then I suppose it's back to your values, right? And our values are all about kind of, being true to local integrity, being genuine, attention to detail, and a lot of this nearly comes from our dad, the attention to detail and the clocks.
Part of the DNA.
And also then being innovative and, we're family. We're a family business, right? And not everyone enters this as a kind of family business. So, I suppose if you live and breathe those values, and you influence, it's like the old Joe Smith thing, control the controllables, right? Yeah. Influence the things you can influence and be as good as you can be about those, right? Okay, that's not to say that other guys won't be as good, but if they work as hard as we work at it and are as true to our values as their values as we are to ours, then they're welcome to it. But I know we're working hard at it. The last thing on that is probably again the story, right? And I kind of alluded to this earlier. We have our own unique story. Yeah. Sure, other people have their unique story, but our unique story is our unique story, right?
For sure.
And when you tell it, hopefully in the way I've just expressed it to you, people latch on to that. Not everyone, right? But we don't need everyone in the world.
Right.
Like, we're not going to conquer the whole world,
Yeah.
So that's.
I really like that, and I really like your throwback to the community, to history, taking on all the people who've helped you up along, from your family to your neighbourhood, and particularly the community of Lanesborough. I suppose I really like that piece. And very often, people talk in the overseas market about Cork, Dublin, highly regarded or well-known geographical locations in Ireland. But to get Lanesborough out there is pretty special. I think well done to you guys for doing that.
That we have a saying in our business that how we'll know we're successful is if in 100 years' time nobody ever remembers there was a power station in Lanesborough.
Yeah.
We won't live to see it. Hopefully our kids will. Yeah. But that's what we're trying to build.
Yeah, amazing. Great vision. I love it. And you need singular vision to achieve that. So in terms of selling the product and getting us to support it, where can we buy it?
Where can you buy it? I'll be honest, the domestic landscape is challenging enough in terms of route to market. Our full portfolio is available online. And then through, I suppose, specific resellers, right? So most quality off licenses would tend to have our product. Will they have it all the time? Not necessarily. But, people like the Celtic Whisky Shop, Irish Malts and that, will have it.
And LoughReeDistillery.com for direct.
Yeah.
Okay, that's brilliant. Now, the inspiration for the micro distillery in terms of differentiating it from producing products through a micro distillery. Tell us a little story there.
So, it's I kind of explained to you where the bigger distillery is the big picture, right? The opportunity came up to kind of ground our brand in Lanesborough and set up an operation in Lanesborough. When we had other choices like to go out and contract manufacture or whatever, but it was very important to us to anchor the brand in Lanesborough and be producing in Lanesborough. So what we have is exactly that, a micro distillery Being honest with you, we're wedged there at the minute. We're bursting at the seams, which is why we need to build out the bigger place. And it's down to scale, you know. It's not so bad for the kind of gins and the vodkas, but when you get into the whiskey space, and we do distill whiskey in Lanesborough. Just last year we got approved for it. We're the first whiskey distillery in the region in 175 years. But it's not at a scale there's any commerciality to it, right? So and just to put that in terms of scale, right? The bigger distillery will have a 7,000 litre wash still in it. The still we have is 150 litres.
Wow, okay.
So 46 times the scale.
Yeah.
So, while a micro distillery is good in that it allows you get moving, right? We've kind of reached a point now where we need to scale up, and we need to scale up to grow the business. We need to scale up from space wise, and we need to scale up to get efficiencies in our production processes.
Of course, economies of scale are critical for any business to grow. Okay, so right now we're just going to take a quick break to hear from some of our members.
Guaranteed Irish members continue to sustain jobs and communities across Ireland, like Emerald Park. Enjoy treasures big and small this summer for a season of fun, from the Cuchulainn Coaster and Viking Voyage to the Dino Dash and Zoo and everything in between. Treasure awaits for the whole family at Emerald Park this summer. Pre-book now at emeraldpark.ie and save up to 20% off. Guaranteed Irish, altogether better.
So Peter, in terms of the new build that's starting this year, there is an element of a visitor centre going to be built into it.
Yes.
And how many people are you... Okay, first of all, the sod has been turned this year.
This year at some stage, yeah.
And then what's the plan in terms of visitor volume you're hoping for? Because that'll be a game changer for Lanesborough.
It'll be a game changer for Lanesborough. I'll be honest, it won't necessarily be a game changer for the business, right? Sure, it will bring some good cash into the business, but I think any of these business the rise or fall on the success of export markets
for sure.
Pre-COVID, the numbers visitor centres were going through the roof. They haven't quite got back to that point yet, right. But all I can say is, we kind of kept a track on it last year, and I think we had about 3,000 people through the doors.
Okay,
right?
Without any effort, really.
Without any effort, right? And in a premises that's not suited for us. So, we're very reluctant to kind of latch onto a number in our business plan.
Of course.
But what we can certainly see is there is a market for, I suppose, the genuine type offering that we provide. Yeah. And this, it mightn't be the slickest visitor centre, even what we build here. But not authentic. Everyone is. It's authentic, and I think that's what people.
I think that's what people are looking for. I agree with you. So talk to us then about your investment programs. What are they, and what are the benefits?
So we have two main ones running at the moment. So one is an EIS program. So probably familiar to most of your listeners. So that's a fairly simple. Make an investment. You get tax relief on it, 40%. And it has to stay for a minimum of 4 years.
Brilliant.
So we've run that for the last couple of years. We'll run it again this year. It'll be opening shortly with a minimum subscription amount of €10,000. So
great help to the business.
A great help to the business, and also I suppose there's probably lots of people out there who like to support. And listen, we've seen this previous years. There's lots of people who like to support small businesses and fellas like us who are giving it a go.
Absolutely, for sure.
So that's the EIS program. The other one we have, which is just coming at the end of a pilot in the US now at the minute, is our crew cask program. So a lot of distilleries will sell casks, sell casks. So we've kind of taken a deep dive at what's available out there and giving. I've designed a program which gives more than that in terms of an immersive experience in terms of joining us on the journey as we go from now to turning the sod to building our business throughout. Ultimately, they get a cask of whiskey for the end of that. But it's things like getting access to the founders and exclusive access at the distillery and continuous kind of engagement. So
brilliant.
That's soft launched in the States there. I mean, we've had about 1,000 inquiries on it in the last 6 or 8 weeks, so we're busy kind of rolling through those.
That's brilliant. And how did you access that program? What's the mechanism there?
We designed it ourselves.
Oh, you designed it?
We designed it ourselves,
Brilliant.
and we're just marketing it in the US, and Yeah, so like we're not,
Interesting.
I suppose.
One to watch there, actually.
Well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, this business is a cash consumer. Anyone who's in this business will tell you you can never have too much cash, right? And if you have, you should lay down whiskey with it. So
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's where we're at on that.
Now, Peter, you recently became the Ecospirits licensed operator for Ireland. For us, this is really important, and I know it is for you as well in terms of the sustainability journey for Guaranteed Irish businesses. Tell us a little bit more about this.
So if you think of the way that spirits are normally delivered, it's in a case of 6, so 6 bottles of this in a case, a cardboard shipping box with a cardboard divider to keep the bottles apart and all that, and individually labelled. And what happens to that in the venue is guys use the bottles, they throw away the cardboard, they try and recycle the cardboard, and they try and recycle the bottles, but or else they have to pay to get them taken away. So we came across this about 12 or 18 months ago. Ecospirits was founded in 2018 in Singapore by a group of guys who were just kind of looking and saying, here, this is madness. We're shipping bottles halfway across the world here. And there must be a better way and a more carbon-friendly way of doing this. So Ecospirits' whole mantra is eliminate single-use glass. So what it is a closed-loop reusable system. So where we would deliver the product, or any brands who are listed with us would deliver the product to the venue or to the end user in a reusable tote. So that's what this is. This is the Eco Tote, which is equivalent to the case of spirits. What happens is there's a dispenser mechanism in the venue. They dispense the product, and then it comes back to us for refilling.
Great. Okay. So it's like your recyclable pouches, except it's in glass.
Except it's in glass. So we're the 23rd country to have signed up as licensed operators for Ecospirits. We'll be live somewhere around the end of June. We're actually launching this at the Night and Day Festival in Boyle. Great. We're running the Spirits Bar for it. Brilliant. And it's going to be all in Ecospirits. Okay.
And can I ask you then, are you the sole owner of this product in Ireland?
Yes. Well, I suppose what the licensed operator means is any brand who wants to go on the platform in Ireland needs to come to us.
Great.
Because we've bought the filling equipment and the license for the island.
Yeah, great.
So interestingly on this, Pernod Ricard made a minority investment in this company last week.
Fabulous.
So these guys have
positive green shoots there.
Yeah, we're pretty excited by it. These guys have lots of global discussions going on with the big brands, the Pernod and the I won't mention the rest of them, but everyone know who they are. And they also have lots of kind of high level stuff going on with big hotel chains. Okay. So really, the bigger the venue, I suppose the key thing about Ecospirits is the saving, right? So this can deliver a 60 to 90% saving in carbon over the equivalent in the normal way of delivering, which is cases. Brilliant. Right? So if you look at the carbon footprint of a spirit drink, about a third of it is in the packaging and the logistics around that, right?
Probably, yeah.
So that 60 to 90% saving can turn into a kind of a 25% overall saving in your carbon footprint. Brilliant. Right?
Yeah.
Which is massive in the scheme of things. I mean, you look at guys in distilleries, so distilling is about another 30% of the carbon footprint. So guys would kill to get 10% more efficient in distilling, but that's only 3% overall. Right?
A brilliant innovation.
So yeah, it's as I say, we'll be live with it around the end of June, and we're getting a great reaction in the people. We're seeing applications for it that we hadn't even considered.
Great. And these things always unravel in different directions that you least expect. Good opportunity.
The other point on this, breed is there's actually a calculator developed and endorsed by Deloitte on this, where a venue can actually quantify exactly what their carbon saving is. Brilliant. Right, and as the consumer will increasingly shop with a sustainability hat on them over time, this now allows somebody to make not make a claim, but to sort of say, I've saved X amount of carbon by using Ecospirits,
which will appeal to the conscious consumer for sure.
It's not it's not made up. It's there, and it can be verified by a calculator created by Deloitte.
Brilliant. And all available on loughreedistillery.com. Very last question, Peter. You won the Guaranteed Irish Business Award this year for the beverage supplier producer. What did that mean to you and your company?
A surprise, I suppose, was the first thing. We were happily enjoying our lunch down in the Shelburne and didn't think we were going to get it. But
well, you were in good company.
We were in good company. Yeah, it was a great day. Massive, really, I suppose, being honest with you. This can be a lonely road sometimes. You know, both kind of personally and as a business. So recognition in that, you know, by very recognised bodies in Ireland. It is great, right? Great for me personally. Great for our team. Great for the guys. You know, we have the award in our window down in Lanesborough. And, you know, the guys are as proud as punch of it. You know,
that's great.
So reading a bit deeper, I suppose, is, you know, it gives us an opportunity to try and leverage that maybe into route to market channels in Ireland. It adds validation to. You know, you guys don't give that award out lightly to every Tom, Dick and Harry. So it kind of...
competition is fierce in that space,
you know,
actually.
So, you know, okay, your independent panel of judges who are very impressive. For those guys to go through their evaluation process and select us shows that, okay, you know, lads, we're doing something right here. And, you know, I suppose... you know, early on, I think, and we've probably spoken about this before, you know, we're big believers in Guaranteed Irish as part of our overall story. And so to get recognition from Guaranteed Irish for ourselves is great.
Well, Peter, I have to say, as CEO of Lough Ree Distillery, Peter Clancy, it's been really interesting talking to you, and thank you so much, and every continued success. I think you're hugely innovative, hard workers, and community at heart. There's a lot to be to celebrate there. So thank you today, Peter, for joining me.
Thanks, Breed. Really enjoyed it.
If you want to learn more about Lough Ree Distilleries or purchase their products, we will leave a link to both websites in the show notes. Thank you as always for listening, and don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you are listening to this podcast.
The Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast, sponsored by FBD Insurance, Ireland's largest homegrown insurer. Support. It's what we do.